Welcome back to Tools of the Pilots, the podcast where we break down the mindset, tactics, and culture of elite aviators and apply them to business, leadership, and life. I am TC, and I'll be your host. If you're getting value from Tools of the Pilots, don't forget to subscribe. We drop mission-critical insights every week, straight from the cockpit to your headset. Today we are diving into a very powerful topic, a topic that is dear to me. Today we are talking about delegation. And with me I have a special guest, a friend from the show, from a previous show, Tools of the Humans, who has inspired me so much for my coaching journey. Today we are welcoming to the show Jim Cook, early Intuit team with the coach, Campbell, part of the Netflix founding team, CFO of Mozilla, Firefox, benchboard coaching and executive advisory, author of an amazing Cook's book, PlayBooks. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thanks, TC. That's a lot of intros, but I appreciate it. I'll sit in the co-pilot seat with you anytime. I love to fly with you on these podcasts. It's great.
Awesome. Let's jump straight into it. In your recent article that I've been reading, that's why I reached out. I read one of your amazing articles. Expand your leadership and influence, expand your delegation. And there is a phrase, a really interesting phrase, which I agree very much. You can't 10 times your influence. You can't, expand by the power of 10 your influence by doing things, by doing 10 times more work. You have to 10 times your leverage. So, this is not only like a delegation tool. You take it from, the bucket of the pens. It's something that goes into the mindset change. It's a mindset shift. So, but we see that it doesn't happen, especially in business. You can see it even more. So, from your experience, why do so many leaders struggle with this mind shift?
Yeah, I like your take. I like your take on mind shift or mindset. That's really why I wrote the article. I think I'll start off with saying that delegation is required. It's not whether you delegate or not, it's required, but there is a right way of delegating and definitely a wrong way of delegating. So I think people get those concepts mixed up because it's like, oh, I tried delegating and it didn't work, so I stopped delegating. It's like, okay, you were just delegating the wrong way, right? And the mindset shift that you talk about is, I equate delegation with leadership. And we can get into that. But the reason why leaders struggle with it, I think, is a confidence problem. It's a confidence of being willing to delegate to others. And they don't quite realize until later in their career that every leader they've ever seen has delegated to them. Any leader they've ever come up underneath has in some form or method delegated to you, and then you became that leader. And so when you become that leader, you need to do that as well. But the problem with most leaders, and this is your question, is what got you there as a leader. Many times you are appointed as a leader because of how great you did as an individual contributor. You're a great fighter, you're a great pilot, you can teach other pilots how to do it. You're the leader now. And so many times when you're young in your career, you get appointed to leadership and you just keep doing the same things that you did that got you to be appointed to the leader. But that's not what's going to make you a great leader. If you keep doing everyone else's job as a leader, you're really not a leader. You have to, we can do this in a sports analogy if you want. You can become, you're a player of a sport and you're so good and you can't really play as good or as fast anymore, but you're so good they make you coach. But many of those young coaches want to also play and still play. And you can't be both a player and a coach. So what got you there is not what's going to get you there. Is the mindset shift, and making that shift is hard for most people.
We get it straight. I think it happens also in my line of business. You have young women that are growing and they're coached and they have the flying hours to become formation leader. But at the point when they are appointed formation leader, Now they don't know what to do because they have been just doing the wingman. So now the mindset needs to shift in order to start delegating like the previous one, the previous leaders they were doing. And effectively, if they haven't been told how to do that, this process is kind of complicated. We have a method, in the Air Force, which is basically when you have a 4-ship, you use a job allocation list, because as a flight leader, you cannot do everything by yourself. So effectively, you get number 2, number 4, they are the youngest women. You say, okay, you guys, easy task, get the sandwiches for lunch, get the weather, get the situation of the alternate airfields. Then you talk to number 3. Number 3 is important because number 3 is your deputy lead. So he's the guy that is analyzing the threat, he's the guy that is analyzing with the intelligence, how the tactics are going to develop. So you delegate them in order to get to the briefing, and these bits and pieces, they add to the puzzle, and you're able to reach out and do and try to achieve what is the mission goal, what is the task that is being given by the commander. So, delegation at that point is something that I was reading a book. I don't know if you're familiar with Meaningful Work, Wes Adams and Tamara Miles. It's about I have reached out to him, and he's a really kind person. But it's a book regarding how you create a meaningful workplace. Okay, and so it's not only you to be motivated there, but it's the leader that needs to create that. And they use the 3C, which is community, contribution, and challenge. So this is delegation. You want people to be part of the game. You need to want people to contribute. And then you want people to be challenged, because, number 3 in the specific case is going to be challenged to find the tactics. And the mind shift obviously requires that you coach people, because you cannot delegate if you didn't give them the tools. So I guess your playbook comes into place.
I love it. I love it, because as you were describing that, what came up for me is that your wingman is so used to taking order. What you described with that young woman is that wingman is used to taking orders, but they're not used to giving orders. And there's the difference in leadership. Oh, I know how to be a wingman. I take my orders from my captain, my captain, right? And or my head, and that's all I have to do, and I'm successful. And I'm so successful that they decided to make me, the head of the squadron, right?
And now
you've got to tell your wingman how to. You got a new wingman, right? So I think what you're describing, and we can put this in different terms. When you're a leader, by definition, you're a leader of a team. You're no longer an independent contributor. And a team is a group of individuals who all have individual tasks that they need to do to make roles, positions that they need to do to make the team successful. So you're no longer an independent contributor. When you're a leader, you have to realize that you're leading a team. And you said it yourself, TC, you can't do everything yourself. The team is now winning. You're not winning because you're the best wingman on the planet. You're winning because you define winning as your team winning, not individuals winning. And the leader of that team has to coach the other players and give opportunity to the other people on the team, and give up some of what they used to do, to be a great leader.
Yeah, I mean, it's a need which is kind of ethical and moral for the profession that you're doing. I mean, becoming a leader, you want to share. Let's say we've spoken about this topic so many times. Living in a culture where people can interact, but also, it's something that it happens because you have a great example there in your article where your hands are glued. So you realize that your personal capacity has become the limiting factor for the team growth, and this can be also a risk. In my line of business, can be a risk, because if the leader, you go to him, you're number 3, you're number 2, you say, "Oh, do you need anything for the mission?" It's like, "No, all sorted." Now you get to the briefing, and even if the tactics and the briefing isn't really sound, you're going to be a spectator, because he has created this separation, this wall, that when you go in the air, this can be dangerous. and not only for the objectives of the niche, but also for flight safety. So you're mentioning to change the metric, to change your leadership multiplier. Tell me a little bit more about your delegation framework.
In terms of the, powerful questions, maybe. So yeah.
I know.
So,
I know you like the question.
I do like powerful questions.
Yes.
So the framework really comes down to a set of questions that you need to ask yourself as a leader in order to delegate. I also talk about, these 3 lies, and there's more than 3 lies that, that lead into the delegation. But I don't know how many times your listeners or you or I have heard this. I've said it to myself over the years. I can just do it faster myself. I can do it better myself. Those kind of lies. What was my third one? I can't afford to make a mistake on this one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's many more. But that's why people don't delegate. Oh, I can't afford to make a mistake. Well, first of all, you're not going to shoot 100%. So the framework really comes from what I also talk about is trying to be perfect in leadership is not the goal. There is no winning team that wins 100% of their games. There is no winning squadron or military unit that wins 100% of their battles. And yet we approach leadership like we have to. It's 1-0. We have to win every single time we go out. That will get you killed, like you said. That will make you lose because you will make choices on having to win. Versus, we're just going to take that hill. We're going to take that airport, and then we're going to take the city, and then we're going to take the region, and then we're going to take the country. Right? War or winning is a series of incremental wins. When you have a large percentage of wins, you win. You win overall. But every loss is a learning experience. What did we do wrong? What could we do better? How do we take the next hill better? Right? How do we learn lessons from our mistakes? It's this concept of learning lessons from your mistakes. And so this third lie that I was talking about is like, I can't afford to make a mistake. You can't afford not to. As long as it's not a mistake that will kill you or the squadron. Like, there are different levels of risk, but you have to delegate to the level that's still safe and challenge your team and challenge the people on your team to go beyond what they think they can do, and they will become better players, and they will learn how to work with other people on the team. So some of the questions are, as a leader, what am I doing personally that really no longer requires my fingerprints on it? And you have to be honest with yourself with these questions. It's not about just asking them and just, but you have to really, really be honest. What am I holding on to, this glue that you talk about, out of fear that I'm going to make a mistake or that I can do it better? And how real is that fear? Is it really that bad? That if you only hit 85% success rate, that everything's going to fall apart? Probably not. Delegate to the level of uncomfortable risk that you can still recover from, and maybe that person will hit 95%. But it's that gap in challenge that you need to challenge people beneath you to make them better leaders. What would actually break? What decisions do I want? I mean, I can't tell you how many leaders I talk to that when I ask them, clients, people I coach, what do you not want to be doing 6 months from now as a leader? And they rattle off, I'm doing all of these tactical and manual things, and I have to stop doing this, and I have to hire that, and I have to hire this. And then 6 months later, they've hired that person, and turns out that they're still doing a lot of that stuff. Why haven't you given it to the person you hired? No, did you really delegate it? Right? Because I'm comfortable doing it. It's just faster for me to do it. It's easier for me to do it. What's wrong with that, Jim? I got it done. My team's still winning because I got it done, and I saved the person time so they can go work on other things. So I'm like, see, you got it all wrong. You have to create space for yourself as a leader to be the leader that you need to be. By creating space, by delegating what you don't think are uncomfortable to the point, and you get more and more comfortable at delegating, you create everything you delegate, you create space for yourself to think 3 steps ahead, to look around corners, to coach the people when they only hit 85% when you could have hit 100%. You could have, now you're creating space to actually lead them and coach them and teach them. But if you're all doing everything all the time, you have no space to operate. You're very constrained.
No, you go defensive. You go defensive at the point because it's just being on the trench and be reactive, right?
Yep.
Instead, if you have freedom, at the point you can, set your curiosity free and think about, other tactics or other manuals that need to be written, or something for the wellness of the people that you are leading as well. But if you're always into the collecting and having a big pot of things that you're keeping just in front of you, at the point no one is having a sip, right? And then the worst thing is, like, at some point there's going to be a leadership change, and the guy that comes in is so inexperienced that he needs to rely on the young ones and say, okay, let's make group, start over again. And it's a waste because you lost the chance that you had with the previous leader to coach them, right?
Totally. Yeah, I in business, I use this framework all the time, where when you reach VP level, certainly anything above that VP role, you have to be thinking at least 18 months ahead for your team. Your directors that you've hired, the people that you're going to hopefully delegate to, have to be thinking at least 6 to 12 months ahead. Maybe it's 12 to 18, depending on what stage of startup, but at least a year ahead, and probably 18 months, probably not realistic more than that. A director is 6 to 12 months thinking ahead, creating space for themselves to think ahead, and your staff needs to be 3 to 6 months ahead, not today, not tomorrow, not reactive. Even your staff can't be reactive. But your staff needs to be, what can I do better in 3 months from what I'm doing today? Maybe 6. That's really all they can focus on, because they're really focused on executing. But even the executors need to be 3 to 6 months ahead. Directors, 6 to 12 months ahead. VPs and above, 12 to 18 months ahead. But you can't be ahead if you're not delegating. This is the framework. If you're not creating space for yourself to be thinking 12 to 18 months ahead, it's because you're doing too much and doing what you used to do and just doing it faster and getting that email out the door and doing that report by yourself and not coaching up your team.
Yeah.
It is the paradox.
Yeah. I think we're talking probably about startups, but unless you are the owner of the company and CEO of the company, you're doing everything yourself to a point that you don't have to give the torch to anybody else later on. Yeah, that's going to work. It's not going to be efficient, but it's going to work for you. But any other company.
Sorry, TC, I didn't correlate what you just said. Owner. I love that word owner. It's another thing I talk about. Everyone's an owner, but I just realized that this is what I was writing about when I was writing about Founders Mode with Brian Chesky, another this thing that went around Silicon Valley. It's these founders and CEOs not delegating.
Yeah.
As the owner and the CEO, the founder of the company, it's like I can just do it all myself, and I'm just going to tell everybody what to do. That's an issue, right? So that that's the worst form of not delegating, in my opinion.
It's a kingdom.
Yeah,
it's a kingdom. Yeah,
right.
Well, I mean, at some point, you see in big organizations and companies, you need to leave the torch to the guy that is coming. So definitely coaching them and getting things ready is important, because at the end you will have to leave. So what are you going to leave? You want to leave a good memory. You want people that, because as humans, psychologically, we want to be considered, we want to be listened. So it's a counter flow when leaders don't do that. It's really against what we know. We know that it is working. There is another item, another topic that I like to bring regarding the delegation, which is effectively the responsibility, or let's say the accountability. this is how I connected with you with the short message. In a formation, you can delegate to whoever you want, whatever the task it is, but in the end, the accountability of the result is from the leader. So you receive the air task order with the commander instant and the goal. You are responsible for the goal. And this is really important for the environment that you are creating for the people that are delegated, because then they have a person to refer to in terms of responsibility. So they can thrive, and they can try to do their best and go, like you said, beyond, challenge themselves. So this is something that sometimes, but I delegated this guy, so it's his fault. Hey, wait. No. So some companies, they have in their culture, the wrong culture of the blaming game, I call it, where, something goes well, but I delegated to him. Yes, but you're the leader. If you did a mistake.
It's a really good point. We've seen this. I use sports a lot in my analogies, and we've seen this in the best sporting teams around the world, where, the coach and the stars of the team are the ones that take the blames for the loss. Not, because they called the plays, not the players who actually messed up. The best teams leaders do not abdicate their accountability, their ownership, and they create a safe space for their players to challenge themselves and try to get better. So when I touched on what delegation is not early on, it's absolutely not abdicating or offloading or finger pointing. It's not outsourcing what I want to do to a third party and just saying, well, I'm going to fire my vendor. That's not delegating. Delegating is yes, I've given that responsibility, co-responsibility to someone else to do most of that job, but I'm still going to check in with them. I'm going to coach them that they could have done it slightly better this way. I'm still involved. I'm just not turning all the dials. I'm not doing it all. I'm watching someone else do what I used to do and then helping them be better at it. That's what a true coach and leader does. But many people think, just like you said, that delegating is just outsourcing or abdicating, and I gave it to somebody and I have someone to blame now. That's not delegation.
It happens that obviously delegation goes sideways. How do you go through the process to I think you mentioned this already, but let's dive a little bit a little bit deeper on this. How do you course correct without reverting the whole process when things go sideways in delegation?
Well, you certainly don't blame the person that made the mistake, right? You do this debrief and you say, what did we learn? See, I think as long as mistakes don't kill you or don't really destroy the team, you've probably delegated too far, too fast if a mistake will kill the team, right? And so let's be clear about that, or will kill the product or kill the company. So you have to delegate properly along the risk curve, first of all. But there will be mistakes, because that's what I call learning, and it's the most valuable part of growth and growing and scaling a company, is this learning zone where the mistake was made. We can learn from it and improve the next version of what that person is going to do next. And it's really about, what did we learn? What did you learn from making that maneuver that you'll never do again? What would you tell somebody else now that you've made that maneuver and almost killed yourself? Like, never to do again. So what did you learn, and how are you going to fix it next time? And creating that space to learn from the mistakes, right? Because when you can do that, the teams get better. The individual gets better. The teams get better. The team gets safer. It really does.
Yeah.
The team gets more efficient, more productive. Because everything we do in life is learning from our mistakes. We forget this. We forget that every single thing that we've done in our life, from walking to talking as a little baby, is made from mistakes and learning.
Yeah.
Somehow we get to this point in our life where we think that mistakes are bad.
Yeah, man.
Never understood this, right?
Well, in the book Meaningful Work, they're talking about a company. I will put down in the notes that he was rewarding failure. Okay, so like, against every principle of making money, right? Because if you're rewarding failure, everybody wants to fail. But in reality, no, people were like happy to, even if they were coming short, at the point they would learn how not to. So, you're rewarding people because they're making mistakes. You're basically giving them another chance. So in delegation, when you do the debriefing, like the other day we were flying a mission and I said to my wingman, okay, you need to maintain the trench now. Okay, I'm going to go back because I need to go back, and then, I'm going to come back and protect you. And he didn't follow the plan. I just went too far. And so I look, where are you? No, here on my radio, like, where the beep are you? Okay. So we come down in the debriefing and I finally see when he went, it was just loss of a say. So, at that point, it's like, oh, you shouldn't do this, we lost the game because, we were killed in training, obviously, because, no, let's have a look. What could you have done better there?
Right.
With your radar, with your airplane, with your speed? There are certain metrics that you look around that also for people that are working in business, what could you have done better for your life, for example? Like, were you rested in that period? No, I was sleeping for hours because I have a new kid. Okay, so we can mitigate also that one. Okay, now that I know, it's interesting when you value people when they're making mistakes, right?
Well, look, I mean, people don't learn, and they will turn off when you shame them and blame them. We just know this. If you try to shame somebody or blame, they'll reject it. They'll turn off. People generally want to improve. They want to be better. They want to learn. But they don't, but none of us like to make mistakes. But if you can have an environment where you can learn from your mistakes and figure it out together, that's how to build a great team.
We talked about coaching. Recently wrote something on this topic too, about coaching young guns, I call it. You don't tell them what to do every second. It's not like a drone that you need to remote control people. Otherwise, they don't understand what they're doing. But you give them boundaries, you give them intent, you support. And it's the only way that they're going to fly solo. Because, I'm flying on a two-seater. I see the guy doing. If I always take control of the aircraft and then I make the landing for him, the next question is he going to be able to fly solo tomorrow? Okay, so it's a tough job. You need to have a good margin, the margin theory around safety, where you can take control, you can make them do mistakes without crashing. But yeah, this is really important. What have you seen work well when coaching up and coming leaders?
Using these techniques, using these delegation techniques, or just in general?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just in general, because we are talking about now for more of, growing people that then can receive delegation. So if they're not ready, you're delegating them that they're not ready, but they're going to be leaders. So.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that comes to mind, TC, is anything I try to coach somebody as a leader, I want them to learn it. I want them to practice it. But the third thing I want them to do is teach someone else. So the faster I can get them delegating some of their tasks that they really don't need to be doing so they can learn the thing that I'm trying to delegate to them. By delegating, you learn how to be a leader. And so there's this flywheel of you delegate, you're creating space for yourself. The problem with delegating to somebody who doesn't also then delegate is you're giving them more and more on top of what they're already doing, and they feel overwhelmed. And their margin, their space for learning from you has just shrunk. So they've got to give something up to take on what you're giving them. And you've got to coach them on how to delegate. Well, and they'll tell you, I can't do that. I can't give that up. I can't give that up to somebody else. There's always someone else you can give it up to. Right? The things that aren't as important that you're doing. but you have to have this mindset.
Yeah. You win by creating space for yourself. It's a great statement. That's a mindset I think a lot of first-time CEOs or even squadron leaders wrestle with. So, give a let's say
Example?
give a fatherly advice to someone stepping into that kind of role for the first time.
The way I did it, I guess is just how my brain works. Is I studied who the best leaders were and how they operated. And so don't try to figure it out yourself. Like you and I are talking, we're figuring it out. We listen to others. You read your books, I read my books, and here I am on a podcast trying to tell people what I learned. And so by telling people what I learned, I'm still learning. I encourage the people that want to be future leaders to be a curious learner of leadership. Pick a couple leaders out that are really, really good and really drill down into their behaviors, into their tweets, into their LinkedIn posts. What are you learning from them? And I think what you'll find if they when they pick the right leader, and you can coach them to pick the right leader, is these people all do say these things, but maybe not as crisply. You'll hear Bill Gates and Satya Nadella from Microsoft and all the best leaders, Google, Sundar at Google and others. At various times, if you listen closely and are a curious learner of the game, you'll hear them say, I really need, when I go on vacation, I just need to turn everything off. I need my thinking time. You'll hear them say this. But sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other. And it's those little things of, wow, they really need that week of downtime so they can strategize there's that space that I've always thought was important as a leader. They said it, they didn't say it as crisply, but they do say it. And for any walk of life of leadership, you'll hear these short little pieces of advice that they kind of say, and it kind of just gets buried. But it's there. If you look at the best leaders' behaviors, how they act, how they treat others, how they create teams, it's there. You just have to study it.
Mm-hmm. I remember there was a person on the $1 trillion coach where Bill Campbell is telling one of the guys in Google, I don't remember the name, but he's like, you need to stand down now. Stop being there at the top. Now you go and you let the other guy. And he was like grumpy. He's like, why? I'm here. I want to keep the position, So, but Bill Campbell knew that this would work, like you have your hands with glue now, put them down, let other people grow because this is good for your organization. On the other hand, if you have read The Score Takes Care of Itself with Bill Walsh,
yeah,
the last chapter is like, it makes me cry because he was burnt out. He wasn't able to delegate because of the pressure of the game and everything. But that's the only thing that in the end he would recommend from his book. It was like, you need to let go. You need to delegate to other people. You need to have your coaches down around you, and you need to empower them because this is you could have won another 3 or 4 probably championship if you would have done that. But it was like grabbing everything. So
it's another reason I love sports. I love the sports analogies, and I use them maybe too much, but it's another reason I love the sports analogies is because you'll see the opposite of this in coaches, and you'll see that Bill Walsh burned out, and you'll see in American football at least, or maybe not so much in the Premier League soccer football. Sorry, but at least in some American sports, you'll see these coaches. The best coaches have an offensive coach and a defensive coach.
I don't want to know what they're doing, like
right, and they're their specialists, and they're looking at the entire game plan and looking at the field. But you'll see many of these coaches get rid of their offensive coach and say, I can just do that, or get rid of their defensive coach and I can call the defensive plays. And more often than not, almost every time that coach who used to be great because they had assistant coaches fails.
Yeah.
So there's the opposite of I'm just going to do it all myself. It doesn't work.
Especially in team sport. Yeah, team sport. It's kind of the infinite game, no?
Yeah.
if you stop doing that, if you stop passing the ball, then you get in trouble.
For sure.
Anything you want to add regarding this topic, Jim, that you're working on? Or what is the next for you?
Well, I'm just continuing to try to spread my knowledge anywhere I can. I'm writing my Cook's Playbooks now. I started about a year ago. Cooksplaybooks.com on Substack, and so I'm doing that, and I'm getting a lot of lots of followers who are readers who are enjoying it. So I'll keep doing it as long as my readers enjoy it. I am coaching clients one-on-one. I'm starting to coach some teams of executives, so that's really enjoyable and sharing back the knowledge. So far I'm having a great time taking everything I've learned over 30 years in Silicon Valley and trying to coach others of what I've learned and see if they can adopt it and make it their own and pass it along to others. So that's what I'm doing. I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Yes. Cook's Playbooks, really interesting. I mean, it's not sometimes not my topic really, but I found one that I could dig in and could go dive with you on the topic. This has been sharp. Delegation, trust, leadership. They look simple in theory, but very hard under pressure, obviously.
Absolutely.
You brought real clarity to how we can all lead better, whether we are flying fast jets or building fast companies. You already gave your links. Everything's going to be in the notes. So thanks again for listening Tools for Fighter Pilots. If you're building teams, scaling leadership, or flying solo and looking to lead, remember, trust your wingmen, okay? Empower your young guns, because the people you delegate to today will become the future leaders of tomorrow. And they'll always remember you for giving them the opportunity. So until next time, stay sharp, stay ahead. Thank you, Jim.
That was wonderful, TC. Great summary.
Thank you.